everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today we got hay rake troubles. Dad says it's ready for some paint, and he noticed when he came back from hay raking our first hay field that this front section goes down into a yoke or a spindle situation. I can look up the name, or you can let me know in the comments below. I'm busy gal and I don't know if I got time to look or not. It's a pull behind or trailer type hay rake, and it's a 670 John Deere model, of course. We've had it for many years and have recently had to start doing some repairs on it. We finally got the situation all straightened out with the hay rake teeth bending and breaking. So that's an original John Deere rake tooth that is ready to go. But that old hard rubber was really good. And then we picked up these, and I think they were AIS. We got them through John Deere because all the ones at Tractor Supply were literally going out to the field one use and breaking again. So he tore this apart and saw that it had been welded in place previously. So we'll go in the shop and show you what's going on with that. So as long as it's hay season and we're doing maintenance on the rake, Trey's handling that, we decided to come out and do a little work on the hay bine again. So like I was talking about being field ready, we'd like to not get hung up on the next field. This is the last field that we did. We ended up with about 26 round bales. We are going to be starting into this field. This field starts getting a lot more clover, a lot more alfalfa, and more good soil. We're getting out of the sand as it goes downhill. We had mentioned about the clogging being alleviated a little bit with different things. So if the washers here are cracked and broken, it lets loose and it's not picking up the hay. That can be one issue. Another issue is the grass is tall, so then it starts getting wrapped up in these augers. So we picked up a gallon of graphite paint. It's $39.99. I'll put a link down in the description below. We have painted our deck on our stack wagon because they weren't, the bales weren't sliding across the table very well, and they were getting hung up on either old gummy paint or bare metal at times. And that fixed our problem with that and made it much more enjoyable to use. Another thing about getting it clogged up is the teeth and the cutter bar, the cutting sections, if they're broken, dull, or just wrong, that can give you trouble. He found most, or maybe all, have been bolted on, and they're actually supposed to be riveted on. So maybe if there's a slop or too much of a space, then that can give you trouble between your cutting guard and the blade. So right down there is your sickle bar or your cutting blade, and each one of those has to be just right. And in the middle section they overlap, so there's no cutting guard there that extends beyond the blade. A couple of those got bent, so he's going to straighten them out. And he noticed here he is missing a bolt. A lot of times they break off and you can't get them out. In this case, the whole thing's just gone. Now, he said a lot of times you can't get that bolt even in there, but his rivet tool holds it in place and gets it on there right so that you get it nice and tight. We found an assorted package at Tractor Supply for this job with the 5/8 and the 5/16 inch bolts with the nuts. So he's going to repair that with that and all the future ones he's putting on with the rivet tool. So show us your riveting tool. We've had some questions about this tool in the past, and we've had it previously to doing sickle bar work, I think, but it really flattens out that top of the rivet.
Here, I want to set this stuff over here and I'll show you.
Okay.
This tool does everything you need for rivets. So,
not right now.
you tighten your 15/16 wrench on that so that this comes down and pinches your bar. And then if I set a 3/4 wrench, runs this one, and it pushes the rivet down through the sickle bar, and the head of the rivet, the old rivet, goes down in this hole. And then this side, you do the same thing. You reach under, you put your rivet in from the bottom, and you hold it up with that cup. That cup right there is the same shape as a rivet. I'll grab a rivet. Put this through from the bottom. See how that shape is the same?
Mm-hmm.
Then your sickle bar is pinched with this. And then you take your 3/4 wrench, and you'll see this section's coming down through. And that smushes this down, these aren't very hard, into the shape. So both sides end up looking like that. So that's how you do that. Now, the only problem I can see with this tool is that we have equipment that has sickle bar bolts and rivets. So if you want to use this press to get out a sickle bar bolt, it won't work the way it's designed. This hole is not big enough to press out one of these heads. So what I do is I take might work with a 7/16 washer. These are half and it works. There's room, but you stack these up on the tool. Then you pinch this down and hold it all, and the holes in the washers are big enough to press the bolt out. So they don't make any other tools that I know of, it's just these. So basically, this does everything you need for rivets. And then, like today, we have to press in bolts. So what the problem is, especially on an older bar like this is, it's very difficult to get these new bolts in through the old hole. They don't want to go. So they go a little bit and people tap on them underneath if it's up high enough. And then they try to pull them through with the nut, which doesn't work. They usually break. So right about when guys start to get the feel for when that's going to break, they stop. So if you feel under equipment that's been worked on like this, you'll notice these bolts are not all the way up against the sickle bar because they knew they couldn't go anymore. They were going to snap it. That's what this does. So this, the shape of that bolt right there is the same shape as that. It pushes that right up and puts it all the way, it bottoms it out. Then all you're doing with the nut, instead of trying to use it as a press and pull through, you're just holding it like it's supposed to. So that's what this does. So,
and that was an accessory tool with that in the kit?
Same company. It's like a separate order.
Okay.
It had, see it, I keep it in the package. That's the model.
So it's made by Smith Tool. We've ordered these online in the past. We ordered his dad one so that ours wouldn't come up missing a couple of years ago, I guess. Probably because of the swather.
Well, you can't do hay in 7 different towns.
Yeah.
With multiple people with one, you know, you have to. So we finally got him one too.
Yeah.
So anyway.
The same holds true with, gosh, in our area, there's probably 2, 3, 5 Tractor Supplies and 2 family farm and homes within probably a 45-minute drive of each other, and we're driving around everywhere trying to find top serrated knives to have spares on hand. When I was painting this, I had mentioned I left this little tab up, and I didn't even know it at the time, but he did. It's a toolbox right here. So this flips down. So this is what it takes. And somebody left us their used ones that weren't broke. So if you get into a pinch, we've got those. There was a couple of decent ones, or maybe they're just unused and they've been in there a long time and got rusty. So we're still trying to find some of those. And he was able to find, Tractor Supply had, it's a double tooth on the end, and they had one in stock, but they kept calling it under serrated instead of top serrated. But what was in the package was top serrated. So he bought it and he's going to try it, and he's going to order a couple from Deere to have on hand, because we got a lot of hay to do and you got to have some parts on hand, because invariably they break on Friday. There's one in the state and they can't get it to you till Monday or Tuesday. And right now, we noticed this, I guess it's been a year or two now, they're charging the customer shipping to get it from one store to another store, if it's any distance at all. But you're paying shipping for that one item, and there's 100 items coming. So we kind of have decided to not order things that way if we don't have to. Let's go over here and see what he's got going on. Are you just trying to line up the holes right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
They got crooked from.
So he was telling me what ends up happening is it starts twisting and flopping around until it breaks the bolt on the other side, and then you've lost what was a good tooth or cutting section.
This won't reach here. That's not gonna do that. It's too far.
Oh. So they only give you like a 1/2 inch clearance to set it in.
Yeah, if the sickle bar was off. But anyway, it's not gonna. Luckily, this one went through. So. It's good. It's good. Short screwdriver.
So unfortunately in this application that tool isn't going to work. He said if it was off then he could use it from behind, but forward facing there's just not enough clearance for it.
Yep. Won't do it. So now there's one missing down there, I see. We'll put that in just to help. It's that funny end one with 3 rivets.
Yeah. So right here is the end piece. You see that's 2 all together in one piece, but it's missing a bolt right here. So he's going to clean that out and get it anchored in there, because if that end starts flapping around, it's going to break. So the whole point of that piece is cutting, and one end might have more wear than another if you're always going in one direction, and it's just one of those spare parts you want to have on hand. If it breaks or it's dull, then that can start causing that auger to not feed and go through. So with the little jobs that we're doing today, if he decides he's going to cut hay tomorrow, he can really get going on it. We are in a situation right now that he's the only guy running a tractor, and it might be advisable to have a second one. So like I was saying earlier, Trey could be raking and he could start cutting and kind of keep things going on to the next field or the next section, as long as we don't get too far ahead. But it might be a good way to do it. The round baling, he said it was really great. It went real slick and we're happy with it. So he's gonna fabricate himself up a bale spear, and we're gonna get all these moved out and move back to the home site there, and we'll have plenty of feed on hand and easy feeding for the cows. We've noticed over some of the time of watching farm videos and stuff too, about like combine fires and different harvesters, baler fires. It's really a good idea to blow out your equipment, and being that we're leaving it out here in the field, the easiest way to do that is with a leaf blower. You can clean out all of your belts, just make sure that everything's good, grease it again if it needs. We had a missing castle nut here, and of course the bins at the store were marked wrong, and that was supposed to be a coarse thread, and I brought him home a fine, so he fixed that. All these missing bolts were all replaced with new carriage bolts. Had a couple up on the top backside missing, so then you're going to have less rattle and noise and whatnot to listen to, because that's a key to a lot of stuff. You're generally, in our situation, running 2-cylinder diesel tractors, so you're wearing headphones. But if something is wrong, you want to be able to hear it, not hear your equipment banging around. So I'd say she's field ready again. Remember, farm safety. Always watch yourself with a farm. Okay. Remember yourself with your farm safety. Always work with a buddy when possible. I know a lot of old-time farmers don't like to carry a cell phone, but even something as basic as a flip phone or having a buddy with you can help save your life. Block up things. Don't rely on a farm jack alone. Now, this special report from George.
If you find a dirt pile and you got a banana peel, throw it on the dirt pile and it'll get wet and turn into compost.
And it will turn into compost. So he threw his banana peel from his snack out there, and now he's ready to go back. So we're going to button this up and call it good on this one.
This was so greasy, I switched this bushing a few years ago, and it gets grease and dust and dirt. This was all filthy. You couldn't even really see what was going on, so I took it apart to see, and that's, so we have to get this, their old weld ground off a little bit, because this doesn't even want to fit in. So we'll grind some of their mess off, weld it again, and just put it back in, and it'll be all right. This would probably be about $1,963 from John Deere, so we'll probably just go ahead and weld it again. So.
That's a big number. So last year he needed to find out, or maybe it was the year before, this adjusting rod right here is threaded on the end, was damaged. Must be on that side. And of course, big money. Fabricate it yourself and get done what needed to be done. All right, he's got it all nicely welded together, filled in the void that was there. Just like a dentist, grind away the old garbage, fill it in with new material. Check his grease zerk. It's got some new grease in there. So now, so that it doesn't all rust where he did grinding and there's no paint, he's kind of pre-cleaned it up, but we're gonna go ahead and paint that. Paint up in here so that that'll dry overnight. It's cooled off so that it's not so sticky, and we'll take care of that. And we moved on to another tractor repair. Little George's 720 is real lightweight metal, and his rear axle broke. Well, I don't know if you'd call it the spindle. So it's supposed to sit here, and this is a whole nother flange. And you can't even see any welds where that thing went together. So we're doing a little repair here to get him back in order, because with this not sitting in the right place, his chain keeps slipping off. And that's a real bummer, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep, he's got a disc, he's got a corn planter, he's got the bullet combine, and little boys have got to keep their equipment going too. And it's been broken since this guy was small.
Yep.
And the bigger they get, the more strength they exert into their pedaling, and then his chain slips. We haven't fixed it at all, so we're fixing it up, huh?
Yep, and
No.
I didn't fit it when I was 3.
Yep, but now you're 5, almost, and you fit it.
Yep.
I've mentioned before how one job turns into another job. And it happens a lot of times because the welder's out, or the tools are out, or the boys are working on their project, just kind of being boys like Dad. So the green paint's going to be out. His little tractor needs to be welded with the MIG welder. So he's over there cleaning up the paint so that your welds will work. And I'm going to paint with this. That way his part can get painted, dry overnight, and get everything all patched up.
And also,
George wants to make sure the inside of his axle gets paint. Jack, watch that can of paint. It's not shut.
In Canada, they put them in they had an abundance of them. They put them
Guys walked around that can of paint 3 or 4 times. So this wasn't even welded. It had 4 tiny little tack welds, or 6. George wants it painted on the inside. Dad's cleaning up the bolts on the other unit for me. And Trey is moving on with the hay rake repair. We don't want to do too much because I think Dad might need it unpainted. An important thing, of course, in anything is making sure that it is greased. That doesn't seem to be taking grease. It's squirting right out. Oh, well, it didn't look it. We've got,
yeah, it ran out of yellow.
Okay. We've got these end teeth, and you have to do some cutting and grinding on these to make them fit just right because they hit this outer knuckle. So Trey's going to take those off after he gets it all greased up so that it's ready. I've counted at least 5, and now I see 6. They are sold in a pack of 10, the AIS ones that are through Deere. And we found the John Deere ones did not go on the bar well. They were basically having to force them on. Trey didn't like it, and it was actually really hard to try to get them on. We had a couple of those. So the AIS ones worked out really good for us. In all, he figured out it was a little over $50 to do the 5. At the time they were, I think he said, a little over $7. So now we found a 6 one. So it just keeps going up a little bit higher. But it's things that need to be done. It's just like with that hay bind. You start missing your little special end piece and you start missing. And, you know, these are maybe 6 inches apart. Well, if every rake on that end is missing, you're having to do a little more work in passes by missing that. 2. Yep, we'll get him ready. He's been sitting here the whole time and I didn't know he was here. Just laying there having a nap. We got back here at like 4 o'clock and he was laying in this spot just watching down the driveway. What a lazy barn cat.
Ready again? Hold on.
Put it down, George.
Keeping it down, George.
And since they're over there welding, I decided I would go ahead and hit this with some of this high heat black paint where the muffler was welded to make sure that we don't get rust and have this turn into a piece of garbage, because he's finally got it kind of dialed in just how he wants it. See, I end up wearing any color I work with, so it really doesn't matter as far as that goes. Got a little container of kerosene and we just clean up at the end of the night. But his muffler that came on the Kohler engine is huge and all the steering linkage is in the way. So I said it might be better. Looks like it's a Nelson 413 maybe. To go ahead and just coat it with paint to protect it, because the cost of a little muffler is insane, and he didn't mind fabricating his own little elbow and side deal here to make it work. And he's working on the hay rake instead of me working on the hay rake, so we're just all trading jobs today. So the overall theme is we're not spending a lot of money, we're not making any money today either. So you gotta watch it all, it adds up fast. And now for the wheels. His freebie wheels were white, and his originals were this silver. And Mom happens to have some gray paint on hand that will look nice. And I need to use it up because my can isn't sealing good. So I'll use some of it on Trey's tractor. Now we try to let our kids in on a lot of our work, but sometimes they need a steady hand, and with this, Trey was really hesitant to want his muffler painted, but it doesn't stick out so much visually. It sticks out, but look at that. This is what I use, the Rust-Oleum high heat for grills, and we've used them for chimneys and fireplaces. I've used it on my maple syrup evaporator, and then the Smoke Gray Professional on the rim. So I'll hit those with a second coat after about an hour or so. It's got to be getting around dinner time. I think that looks a lot better. So we'll let this dry and we'll come back for another coat. Let's go see what they're doing. I thought I'd throw this in here real quick. It's AI products, not AIS. It's part number A-AE47389, and it's just a universal package of hay rake teeth. He was remembering wrong. He said it was like $5 a piece, so we are in much better shape at $30 for doing the ends. And one, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need 8, so $40.
I think I was saying you should. That's probably
Okay, so all the greens got a second coat of paint to dry overnight. Now you might wonder about the little pedal tractor. That little pedal tractor is probably the third pedal tractor. He's got multiple toy pedal tractors, but it started with this one with my husband. So since Jack was little, this was brought over and let him play. And Jack is now 16. And my husband is been hanging on to this, and it wasn't used a whole lot by Jack. Jack was more into trains. Well, sometime I gotta find him a cover for back here. See, there's one on this side. It's just a matter of getting on eBay and different websites, but George is thinking he'd like to paint the wheels. Dad has always liked that it is in original condition. So this is a 520. Little guy. I think all boys like to copy Dad. Come over here and see what's going on. We use the baler, and Dad has to have an electrical hookup to a battery sitting on his seat. And that is the control for the baler. A remote, if you will. Well, George doesn't have a baler. But like I said, he's got the bullet combine. He's been lining up his equipment right here. Look what he did. He went and found a timer. And that's his control for his baler. Isn't that cute? Being just like Dad, just like with the welding, having his own helmet so that he can help out and watch. Matching wheels. Oh, he's gonna take it out. I don't think we've ever had a weld fail. These have all been notched out on the grinder. It's that this little part here hits when it wraps around onto this bracket. So all of those 8 got fixed out, and it's ready to go to work.
I didn't know about that. Can you put that on the other side? Not really.
Well, you still can't just show to see how it did.
We're going to switch the umbrella bracket to that tractor so that you can have it on your old tractor, just like Daddy has an umbrella on his old tractor. Yeah? And Trey's going to put an umbrella on his tractor too.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe he'll work on that later. I think it's all right. Just a little bit.
So you pull the whole axles back to tighten the chain.
Yep.
We can just take a block to hit that. See, that was a little weld too. Poorly built deal.
Yeah, I've never had
And I don't know if you'd say this is fortunate or unfortunate, but we got that axle on and we realized the other side is doing the same thing. Now his little umbrella bracket didn't want to go on without grinding off the weld, so we're going to put that on the John Deere 520, but this one is going in the same way. I noticed this side is not attached at all. They just did 2 little tack welds on each side. And as the kids get bigger, they just are pushing back on that axle so much. I think it just was too weak for it. The other one, or underneath the tractor, there's a cover to cover the chain guards. And I don't know if that's supposed to be welded together or not, tack welded. So I'm gonna see if I can find any evidence of that. All right, it's all back together and he's off. Okay, it is the day after using the graphite paint on the auger, and he's going through the very tall grass. I haven't heard him stop yet to see how it's going. That's some pretty tall grass. Let's go check it out. I'm getting tangled up in it just as I walk. So right here, this piece goes right up to the top of my shoulder. That is some tall grass. In the other section, it was really sandy, and the highest any of the grass was going was maybe rib high or up to my chest. So this is like another foot taller in some areas, and it's much thicker, less sand, and there's a lot more alfalfa here. So this alfalfa is some heavy duty stuff. Look at this wealth. It's just great. We'll have a lot more round bales in this field because of the better soil conditions. He's going to open this up tonight and then call it quits. But look at that.